All right, Nuggets fans, welcome into Pickaxe and Roll, brought to you by our good friends here at Mile High Sports. I am your host, Ryan Blackburn at NBA Blackburn on Twitter, part of the Mile High Sports Podcast Network, and I am here and ready to discuss the Denver Nuggets. Apologies for being a little bit late, trying to get some things going and get some things ready and actually build some stuff out for the show and make sure that I am all good to go on that front. Always appreciate the love and support on the show. If you are here live, thank you so much for joining. You will be a part of the gauntlet and very excited to discuss what is going on for the Denver Nuggets and what they are going to expect over the course of the final 27 games of the season. This is going to be an interesting one. This is going to be one where you're going to look at the schedule, you're going to look at the breakdown, and you're going to think, okay, how are they going to do this? Especially if they are not healthy, especially if they are not ready to go. They're going to get ready to go. That's what this post-All-Star break stretch is all about. It's something that the Nuggets have tried to make a focal point for each of the last few years. 2023, Denver basically, like when they won the championship, over the course of those first 10 games, they established that they were the best team. They won against Memphis pretty soon after the break. And then they shut it down because they were 8 games up on the 1 seed or on the next highest team. And that was pretty clearly like them saying, okay, we're good. We've done what we need to do, but they established themselves. 2024, it wasn't them establishing themselves. It was them trying to reestablish themselves. It was them basically saying, hey, we are basically tied with Minnesota and Oklahoma City right now after winning the title. We want to show that we can win the title, and we want to try to be the number 1 seed. And so they fought for that. It was clearly the wrong decision, but they went 20-5, 19-6, somewhere in that general range on the last few games of the season, of the post All-Star break stretch of the season. And they played all the way up through game 82, lost that key one in game 81 to San Antonio. And that was where things started to fall apart for Denver a little bit. They fought really hard and then still didn't get the number 1 seed, faced the Minnesota Timberwolves in the second round as the 3 seed. And that was an issue. And then 2025, they tried to do the same thing, if you recall. They actually did try to do the same thing. They're like, hey, we won 8 games going into the All-Star break. And that was the thing. They finished right before the All-Star break on a great run. Then they won the 9th game. And then the 10th game, the second game after the All-Star break, was a fateful game against the Los Angeles Lakers where the Lakers threw the kitchen sink at Jokic. They threw the kitchen sink at the Nuggets and their lack of spacing. I don't remember if they were dealing with an injury at that point. I think Michael Porter may not have played, but very clearly Denver had issues and the Lakers exposed them. And it kind of sent the Nuggets down a spiral and they could never recapture that momentum. It was up and down, but mostly down. And then they had a 4-game losing streak. And then Michael Malone was fired and Calvin Booth was fired and things were clearly not the same. But it has been a big tenet for the Nuggets to really jump out after the All-Star break and really try to lock in and say, this is what we need to do. This is what we're going to try to accomplish to establish and set that tone. What is actually going to happen over the course of these next 27 games is going to be really interesting. Denver's 35-20. They are 3rd in the Western Conference right now. They're in a pretty good position. They're not in a great position, but they are in a pretty good position. And as a result, they have an opportunity to jump into the 2 seed if they really fight for it. But San Antonio is 4 games up in the loss column. It's kind of a pretty difficult push if they're going to try to do that. I kind of think that Denver's more geared towards the 3 seed, and they should be trying to hold off teams like Houston, who has the same number of losses as them, the Lakers, who have 1 additional loss than they do, Minnesota, who has 2 additional losses, the Phoenix Suns, who have 3 additional losses. Those teams are all in range. And so Denver is going to be facing a lot of those teams over the course of the stretch, including OKC and San Antonio at the 1 and the 2. So if they want to, they can make a run, but it is going to be exceptionally challenging as a result. So, first segment, let's go over the schedule. Let's discuss what is actually going to happen with this schedule. Second segment, we're going to go over what the goals for the offense should be, the goals for the defense should be, goals for health. Obviously, you want to try to get as healthy as possible, but that's where I want to really focus in on what Denver can do with this schedule and how they got it. They have to make the most of this time in preparation for the playoffs. It can't just be about win at all costs. It has to be, you have to do something with it. Like, that's what the best teams do. They don't just win games. They win games with a purpose. They win games by improving their process and getting ready for a championship run. And then the final segment, we're going to go 3 major predictions. I do jinx people on the regular, so this is going to be interesting, but I am going to make 3 major predictions. One of them will be tied to Jokic, one of them will be tied to the rest of the rotation, and the other will be tied to the Nuggets. So without further ado, let's get into it. The upcoming schedule for the Denver Nuggets. First 9 games that they will play out of the All-Star break. You have a back-to-back on the road with the Clippers and Portland on Thursday and Friday. Denver gets a break on Saturday, but they still travel and go to Golden State on Sunday. So immediately they play a 3-4 going out of the break, and the Clippers will be competitive. The Portland Trailblazers are going to try to be competitive. Golden State will try to be competitive. Like, these teams, they have aspirations. They want to, that's funny. They want to win as much as they possibly can to try to, like, they're all in the play-in race right now, basically, and they would like to get out of it if they could, but I don't think that's going to be possible for them. The next game, Denver comes back. They have a couple of days off, and then they face the Boston Celtics on Wednesday of next week. And then they take a 1-game road trip and go to OKC. That's going to be their first major test. But, like, I mean, it's not like the other games are crazy. Like, if they're going to try to win that game against Boston, and then they're going to try to win that game against OKC. And, oh, by the way, you get to come back home and play Minnesota for the 4th and final time of the season. Denver's won the first 3 games versus Minnesota. You best believe that Minnesota is going to be trying to steal that one. Then Denver goes on the road for a back-to-back at Utah. That one should be easy, but second night of a back-to-back's never easy. Then they come back home and play a back-to-back after a couple days off versus the Lakers and the Knicks. So you get off to a pretty tough start initially. That's going to be a difficult stretch. After that, you're going at OKC. You are going to get a couple of days off after that Lakers-Knicks back-to-back, but you're going back on the road and you're going to face the Oklahoma City Thunder. You come back home. You face the Houston Rockets, who are absolutely going to be trying to catch Denver in the standings. Then you go back on the road on a back-to-back and face San Antonio, who's probably going to be trying to separate from the standings. Then you've got the Lakers. You've traveled to LA, who's going to be trying to catch Denver in the standings. Then you come back and you face the Philadelphia 76ers at home. Who knows if Joel Embiid will play for that one, but certainly feels like that is their only, like, it starts the reprieve. But I mean, Memphis or Philly is still trying to compete. Memphis is probably not. Denver just faced Memphis. It should have been an easy game that Denver made a little bit more challenging on the last game of the All-Star break, but it's going to be a tough one. They turned that into a back-to-back, and they have to come home from Memphis. Remember, that Memphis game was not supposed to be on the schedule. It was supposed to, that's supposed to be a 3-game homestand, but it was added to the schedule to fit in that cancellation game. And it turned that 3-game homestand into a lot of travel. Now Denver comes home, they face Toronto, and then they face Portland. Not easy games by any stretch, but games Denver should win if healthy and if good to go. By this time, you would expect that both Peyton Watson and Aaron Gordon are back. If they are not back, that is an issue. As a reminder, Peyton Watson got injured right at the end of January, I believe, a 4 to 6 week timeline that he was given, or maybe it was against the Knicks. So it was a little bit into February. So it was a 4 to 6 week timeline, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe it was a reevaluate after 4 weeks, but he should be back for this stretch, and Aaron Gordon should be coming back like towards the beginning of this stretch. So you face at Memphis on March 19th, then Toronto March 20th, then versus Portland on March 22nd, and finally at March 24th, you go back on the road and face Phoenix, who is, again, they're going to be trying to catch people in the standings. And the final 9 games of this stretch, you will see a whole bunch of home games. If you look at the schedule prior to, Denver's got 4 home games and 5 road games in the first 9-game stretch. They've got 4 home games and 5 road games in the second 9-game stretch. In the final 9 games, they have 7 home games versus Dallas, versus Utah, versus Golden State. Then they go on the road at Utah. Then they come back home after a couple of days off and face San Antonio, then Portland, then Memphis, then OKC, and then at San Antonio. There are 0 back-to-backs during this final 9-game stretch. There are 7 home games during this final 9-game stretch. The last back-to-back that Denver has is March 24th at Phoenix to March 25th coming home and facing the Dallas Mavericks, who in theory should be tanking at that point, but they're probably not shutting down Cooper Flagg, so Cooper Flagg could go off for 40 or 50. There's no question about that. All this being said, Denver in the first 9 games has got a tough stretch. They've got some road travel. They've got some really tough home games in this stretch. Second stretch of 9 games, a lot of travel. You're basically traveling every single game except for one stretch over the weekend of Friday, March 20th to Sunday, March 22nd. And then the final 9 games, you will travel once, or you will not travel as much. That's where you can really try to lock in at home. But until that point, Denver's kind of going through a gauntlet here. They're going through a pretty difficult stretch, and I'm very curious to see how they handle it. Obviously, like everybody wants to see what Denver can do from a standing standpoint. Everybody wants to see what Denver can do and try to push San Antonio among other teams. San Antonio doesn't have that challenging of a schedule. This is a more challenging schedule than that. And Denver still isn't going to have Aaron Gordon or Peyton Watson back towards the beginning of this. Maybe in the middle, they get back Peyton Watson and Aaron Gordon and at general points. But again, like this is going to be tough. This is going to be a challenging thing. And Denver, for all of the hopes that they could just get through a challenging road-heavy schedule at the beginning, there was a really tough stretch. There were some, but it was easy games. It was against supposedly easy teams. There's not a lot of tanking games on that list. There's a couple of games against Memphis. There's a couple of games against Utah for sure. But basically everything else, these teams are going to be trying. They're going to be really, really trying to amp it up. So we will see what happens here. But let's take a break. When we come back, we're going to do some goals. We're going to talk about what the offense should be trying to do, what the defense should be trying to do. I'm looking forward to seeing what they can accomplish here. We'll be right back. But first, I want to tell everybody about Ford. Ford does a really cool thing with our personal app for Mile High Sports. If you didn't know, presented by your Colorado Ford dealers, you can keep up with the latest Nuggets news, Pickaxe and Roll episodes, and much more on the Mile High Sports app driven by Ford. Just make sure to search Mile High Sports in your app store. You could get Nuggets coverage. You could get Broncos coverage. Obviously, Broncos season has ended, but Cody Rourke is still rolling. The Avalanche are still rolling, obviously, and then they're doing some crazy stuff. We've got some Olympic coverage that's been going on. Hockey Mountain High is doing some great things covering the Avs for Mile High Sports. So make sure to go check out everything is on the Mile High Sports app, which again is presented by Ford, your Colorado Ford dealers. We'll be right back here on Pickaxe and Roll.
At Hooters, you can watch the tournament with your buddies. All your buddies. Like the ones with ice-cold beer. And one-of-a-kind wings that are nothing but net. You know, buddies you won't have to fight for the remote. buddies who know a thing or two about basketball, and the fans who live for it.
Where else are you going to get all this?
Hooters, your official hangout for game day.
All right. We are back. Pickaxe and Roll. Ryan Blackburn here. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Would really, really appreciate it. Let's now discuss where the Denver Nuggets are at from a statistical standpoint. I've written the article before that you should make sure to check out on milehighsports.com. It was right before the weekend, where obviously wanted to kind of take a little bit of a break during this week and really just enjoy my All-Star to myself. Obviously, yesterday we talked about where the Nuggets are at from an All-Star standpoint. But I have discussed ad nauseum, it feels like, Denver's schedule, and then like it warrants consideration because of where we are at this point. But the defense and the ebbs and flows that have happened there, Denver's injury situations and everything of that nature, it feels like we've discussed a lot of these different things. But I'm going to go over it again. Denver is first in the NBA in offense. They have been the best offense in the NBA. There's no question about that. And the good thing about Denver's offense this year as opposed to last year is it has been so much more versatile and so much less dependent on Jokic doing amazing things, and more so about like, hey, there are other people that can augment what he's doing and sort of take over for when he isn't at his best. And that's really been evident. Jamal Murray, of course, made an all-star game for a reason. He's been one of the best players in the NBA this year. Tim Hardaway Jr. has been a revelation off the bench as a floor spacer, and that has changed and shifted things away from, like, while Russell Westbrook was so good in terms of drawing attention and setting the table for other people and just being the relentless driver to the cup and to the paint. And he did like have some good shooting. Like there was pretty clear there. What Tim Hardaway Jr. has done as a shooter this year has been completely different in terms of the stylistic comparison for what the Nuggets have wanted. It's allowed them to be a little bit less aggro and a little bit more like a patient with what they've tried to accomplish. Now, it has made them a little bit more I'd say vulnerable to when they don't shoot as well. Actually, I'm not even sure that's true because they do have the button that they can push. It's just that they haven't had to push it that often from an offensive standpoint, where they just drive to the cup and get right to the front of the rim where Jokic is there, and you just set him up, and he's an extremely efficient finisher. He's just been better this year from an offensive perspective than he was last year, which is, again, tremendous. The three-point shooting across the board has been great. I think that's for the offense specifically. There are a couple of things that I would like to see them do going forward. The first is I want to see them blend lineups in such a way where we see some of the combinations that we haven't seen enough of. I want to see what happens when Christian Brown is out there with different combinations and with Cam Johnson and guys like that. He hasn't spent a lot of time with Cam Johnson. Those guys have barely played together. Obviously, Cam Johnson was a little bit more healthy than Christian at the beginning of the season and was there for a little bit longer, but he also missed 6+ weeks. Christian Brown's missed a lot of time. Those guys have barely played. So I would like to see what happens when those guys play together. I would also like to see what happens when Cam Johnson and Peyton Watson play together with this different version of Peyton Watson that we've seen since he reemerged. When I say reemerged, I mean like when Jokic went down, he kind of spread his wings and took flight. There's a lot of numbers behind the scenes about Peyton Watson in terms of like some of the analytics and some of the stuff that he has done or hasn't done on the defensive end and has sort of turned into on the offensive end that don't value him as much in his contributions. I want to see what happens when he gets paired with a guy like Cam Johnson, where all the net rating numbers and all these advanced metrics look really good. And there's an ability for those guys to share the floor where Peyton Watson can shoot off of Cam Johnson passes. Cam Johnson can shoot off of Peyton Watson passes. Those guys can take turns creating. they can do so in a smart way, take advantage of some of the lineups that they'll be facing with the second unit. It allows Jokic and Murray to spend a lot of time together, continue to iron out their chemistry, which I think there's been some good moments for sure in these last 7 games, but it has been pretty clunky at times. So when Peyton Watson comes back, I want to see what happens when those guys share the floor together, Peyton Watson and Cam Johnson with Jonas Valanciunas, and that be their primary bench rotation. You get Tim Hardaway Jr. out there, you get Bruce Brown out there. Bruce can be the initial point of attack defender. Tim is another spacer, but you don't always have to have Tim out there with Cam Johnson and Peyton Watson. You could have Jalen Pickett. You could have somebody bigger like an Aaron Gordon or a Spencer Jones, certainly. Like there's plenty of opportunities offensively for that group that I like to see. Denver offensively, there's just not a ton of weakness with their group. It's a lot of great numbers. It's a lot of great things. And it's something that you should not take for granted. One of the things that I try to remember when I complain about the defense is that, yes, that does matter. Yes, there's a lot of things that you have to figure out and you have to keep improving. But like when you look at the offense, Denver's points per 100 is, despite the fact that they missed Jokic for a month, despite the fact that they have had a lot of like guys that have been absent and they haven't been at their best offensively, like they're still leaps and bounds ahead of the best team, of the next team. They're 122.1 offensive rating. Boston's at 120.9. Denver's got the best EFG percentage. They have the 3rd lowest turnover rate, which is a really valuable thing. You just want to get as many shots up there as possible. Denver's free throw rate is really high. They get to the cup a very frequent amount and take advantage of teams that can't guard them and have to resort to fouling as a result. The one area, if you're looking for improvement, is Denver's offensive rebounding rate. So much of that is impacted, though, by the month-long stretch where Zeke Naji and Deron Holmes were the starting centers for the most part. Aaron Gordon was the starting center. And if you just kind of remove that, or if you say, okay, up until the point where, let's just say Jokic was injured on December 29th, we'll just go there on this, on cleaning the glass here and do a quick little search. Yeah, Denver was 19th in offensive rebounding rate up until that point, and then it got worse since then for obvious reasons. I would like to see them get back to being a dominant offensive rebounding team. Part of that, though, is Aaron Gordon being in the dunker spot and being able to carve out a little bit of a roll down there. That's something that once he gets back, it's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be a little bit better for them to step up in that regard. So we'll see what happens, but I think their offense is going to be fantastic during this stretch. And despite the fact that they're going to be facing a lot of great teams, the one thing that you need to remember as a fan is that Denver is really great against top 10 defenses. If you go, or I'll do it for you, on cleaning the glass, against top 10 defenses specifically, the Nuggets have a 122.1 offensive rating. They've played 18 games against top 10 defenses, which is about average for what most teams see. That is by far the best in the NBA. The next highest is New York at 118.5. Denver's mostly matchup proof in this regard. There will be teams that, like the historic defenses like an OKC, that will obviously impact that. If you like, you're looking at OKC, San Antonio as the 2 of the top 3, Detroit obviously, but Detroit didn't really impact Denver's offense that much, or as much as you would expect. Like there were some things that they did, but nothing that I thought was too crazy that they couldn't overcome. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Denver will, of course, have to face OKC, San Antonio, Houston, Minnesota, Toronto. Like they're going to face a lot of top 10 defenses during that stretch. So this is going to be a good test. It's going to be a very good test, but we will see what happens. Defensively, this is obviously like the goal that you want to see for Denver's. Can they just string together some good games? Can they string together some solid performances and get back to a positive stretch on the defensive end? I will put this image up on screen if I can find it once again. Um, this like this graphic that I use on a consistent basis does really matter to me. Um, yeah, let's go here. It does matter. And like it's not fully updated, but it's not like Denver's defense was amazing against Memphis. So like there's still some games that it's missing on that front. But like it's not good. It's like your worst defense in the NBA territory over the course of a few different 5-game, 10-game stretches. And so I would like to see Denver, even against some of these opposing teams, like they're going to be facing a lot of top 10 offenses. And so I'm very curious what Denver's defense actually looks like in that. They are 24th in defensive rating usually against everybody. They're actually 21st against top 10 offenses, which is really funny. Like they improve slightly by comparison. They're going to be facing a lot of top 10 offenses, though. Like some of the top 10 offenses that they will be facing are teams like they can't face themselves. So that definitely is beneficial. But they're going to face Boston again. They're going to face New York again. They're going to face OKC 3 times. They're going to face Minnesota once, San Antonio 3 times, Houston once. They've already faced Detroit twice, but they'll face the Lakers multiple times. They're gonna have a lot of top 10 offenses that they have to deal with. So what can they do against the best of the best? What does it look like when they are facing all of these teams? Can they rise to the occasion? They know that they have to. It's a requirement. This team is going to be facing some of the toughest competition in the entire NBA. So I'm looking to see that. Obviously, there's a lot of things that you could point to on the defensive end specifically. The one thing I keep getting back to, Denver does not force any turnovers at all. Comparatively to the rest of the NBA, they're last in the NBA in turnover rate. They don't force any turnovers. They don't get into anybody. They, like, in a lot of this, like Russell Westbrook actually would have helped here in comparison to the issues that they have offensively and how they've sort of shifted from that and they've become a little bit more versatile without him. Russell Westbrook would have gotten into people. He would have gambled for some steals. He would have absolutely like put them into a pretty good position where they're helpful in some of these other categories. But like you look at some of the other underlying numbers, like it would have probably left them vulnerable, to be clear. And they just don't have the hustle rate. They don't have the additional ability to really cut off certain things. Defensively, they're actually averaging and to above average in a lot of different categories. I've mentioned this before. 14th in EFG against. It's average. 7th in fewest like offensive rebounds given up. That's pretty good. 11th in free throw rate given up. It's pretty solid. But they are so far last in turnovers, 30th. And that to me matters. Something that Matt Moore, colleague over at Locked On Nuggets and good friend, has talked to me about is he doesn't think that the teams that force a bunch of turnovers defensively, that really translates to great playoff defense historically. OKC is kind of an aberration in this because they're historically great at it, and that translated because they're able to play fundamental defense in addition to the gambling style that they like. Denver's got to play great fundamental defense, but they have to find a way to generate some more turnovers. And so that's going to mean to me, like, Christian Brown's got to be on his game in terms of getting around and getting some steals. Tim Hardaway Jr. has done a great job of drawing charges, among other things, drawing offensive fouls. Like, Jokic has to be playing those passing lanes really, really well. He's got to be more aggressive in how he plays those passing lanes. Can't get got in terms of gambling for something and then giving back a wide open layup. But like, Denver's got to be scrambling. They've got to be fast. They've got to try to speed up the opposing team. And if they do that, then great. Then there's an opportunity for them to be successful. If they don't do that and they continue to be around the 24th ranked defense in the NBA, which is where they are, I don't know how it's going to translate. I don't know how they're going to be able to make it happen. So we're going to find out. We're going to see. But I'm looking forward to seeing what they accomplish. When we come back, we are going to discuss 3 different predictions that I have for the Nuggets. I'm looking forward to making these predictions, and I'm curious to see whether you guys will like them or not. We'll be right back here on Pickaxe and Roll. But first, got to tell you guys about Denver Athletic Club, another sponsor for Mile High Sports here. Are you looking for the perfect place to work, play, exercise, socialize? Look no further than the Denver Athletic Club. They're right in the heart of downtown Denver. If you're a DAC member, you'll enjoy top-notch amenities like a full fitness center and a licensed childcare center, a spa, a massage, Pilates, a golf simulator, and much more. There's so many different things that the Denver Athletic Club actually offers. And this is a member-owned club all about you, offering year-round social events, co-working, dining, and fun for the entire family. It's a club for your whole life. Learn more about the DAC at denverathletic.cc. Remember, it's .cc, not .com. denverathletic.cc. We'll be right back here on Pickaxe and Roll. All right. Final segment, Pickaxe and Roll. Thank you so much for tuning into that show. Would love to see a 5-star review come across the board on if you're listening on the audio side. So hit that like button, hit that subscribe button on the video. And if you're listening on the audio, a 5-star review on Apple, iTunes, or Spotify would be amazing. Okay. Cody asks, Denver has 2 days to sign Spencer, right? If they want him to play, sure. He's not eligible right now. The assumption is that he is cleared concussion protocol by this point, and it's clearly a contractual obligation. That was an open conversation that David Adelman basically told us. Is like, yeah, the concussion, of course, was the thing, but now it is mostly about the contract. They're using that as the impetus to delay the contract a little bit. So Denver, of course, won that final game right before the All-Star break, so it didn't ultimately hurt them. Could they have used Spencer Jones in that game? Of course. Could they use Spencer Jones going forward? Absolutely. I made a mistake during the show, or maybe it was a different show. Spencer Jones is going to have to start at power forward for Denver unless they play small again and have Cam Johnson at power forward and then have Christian Brown at the 3 and have like Bruce Brown or Tim Hardaway Jr. or Julian Strawther still at the 2. Like, they need Spencer Jones. One of the reasons why their defense has been bad is because they've been missing a lot of their defensive guys for a significant portion of the season. They need Spencer back. And so my first prediction is that Spencer Jones gets signed tomorrow. Not today, not Thursday. I think it'll be tomorrow. I think they'll have it done before practice on Wednesday. Denver's getting in tonight. There'll be a practice. It'll be a very easy practice in all likelihood. Guys are just going to get some jogging in, and they're going to get some vitals and then fundamentals and then basically check in and say, here's what's going on. But we'll be going to practice on later this afternoon, kind of closer to the evening at around 4:45. Don't think anything will be done by then, but you've seen a couple of other contracts get signed. Jabari Walker of Philadelphia signed a contract recently. It was a 2-year deal, I believe, that they gave. There was another one that was recently signed. I don't remember who it was. Somebody in the comments, I'm sure, will be able to tell me, but there was another 2-way contract that was converted over the All-Star break. So these deals are happening. Denver's kind of late to the party here, and they've got to figure it out. But if the Nuggets are going to win these games, and if they're going to really start to get this thing going, like they've got 13 guys on roster spots right now. So that needs to happen. That needs to happen for sure. And if it doesn't happen, then they're at issue. So my first prediction is that Spencer Jones gets signed on Wednesday. They will, of course, have God, what is going on? This guy is get in timeout, bro. Actually, yeah, if Denver is going to be successful in this first stretch of games here, this first road trip, Clippers, Portland, Golden State, they're going to need guys that can play hard. If they're not going to have Peyton Watson, they're not going to have Aaron Gordon. You want to win against Kawhi Leonard and the LA Clippers? you're going to have somebody like Spencer Jones. If Cam Johnson is guarding him, if Christian Brown is guarding him, if Zeke Naji is guarding him, whoever, like that's not going to fly. It's just not. So like those guys are going to be at disadvantage very clearly. And so you want a chance against the Clippers, you're going to have Spencer Jones out there. So we'll see what happens. Also, Portland, Denny Avdia, Golden State. Certainly not Jonathan Kuminga anymore, and you don't have to deal with Jimmy Butler, so less important for that one. But like Denver absolutely needs Spencer Jones back, and I predict that it will happen tomorrow. Can't wait to be wrong about that one, and for everybody to be irritated with me. The next prediction is about Nikola Jokic. I think that Jokic plays at least 65 games. I think that he is going to I think that he's going to really try to be eligible for end of season awards. It may or may not be about just end of season awards, but like Denver's 35-20, they have an opportunity to play and really try to catch the 2 seed if they want to, but more so they want to try to remain as at least the 3 seed. I think that they are going to try to like have Jokic set the tone here. Jokic is going to set the tone. Whether like you play 5 minutes in the All-Star game and then really kind of duck out of that, they're part of the reason I'm sure is because you want to really set up the run for the next 27 games. And I don't think that like in part of those conversations where national fans are of course upset with him and wanting to see him play, I think that he's going to play for the next 27 or at least 26 of the next 27. So he's going to be pretty ready to go. That's my recommendation. That's my guess. In terms of the other guys, I don't want to set up a prediction for when certain guys come back, how many games certain guys are going to play. I think I can comfortably say it with Jokic that he's going to try to play all 27 if he can, and if not, then he'll miss one. But if it's Jamal Murray, like I hope he doesn't play 26 or 27 games. I hope he plays about 23 to 24 of them, and they find a way to build in some rest on the second night of a back-to-back, especially if they win the front end of those back-to-backs and do the things that they're supposed to do. Like if we go through this first part of the schedule, like you're probably not resting any of these games. I wouldn't expect. Maybe against Utah on the second night of a back-to-back, maybe that's when you could get Murray, maybe even Jokic, but probably more so Murray, a night off on this particular one, have him ready and get him 3 days off in a row. He doesn't even need to travel with the team on that Utah game. Minnesota, then the Lakers, then New York. That would be a great opportunity. The next opportunity here would probably be maybe this Memphis game. Like you want to rest him at Memphis. You don't necessarily need to win that game. It would be good if you did, but you could probably do that with Jalen Pickett as a starting point guard or Bruce Brown, or maybe you start without a point guard, something like that. We will see what ultimately happens here. But there are opportunities, and Denver should try to not burn out their guys. Like that is a goal that they have to have. If they don't have it, and if they try to go balls to the wall the entire 27 games, they will burn out. Good Lord, I feel like people just find the stream and decide to troll. Like I don't understand why this happens, but like I just mostly keep to myself, man. So that's one. That's two of the predictions. Spencer Jones gets converted on Wednesday. Nikola Jokic plays 26 or 27 out of the next 27 games. And the final one is that Denver, despite it being a really tough stretch, I think they go 18-9 in these final 27 games. I think 18-9 is very reasonable. There will be times where they slip up. There will be times where they lose. It's not them playing so exceptionally hard that they are going to be like in a really tough position. They're not going to gas out if they go 18-9. This isn't them going like 21-6 or 22-5 or really trying to go on a run. There should be opportunities where they could miss a couple games and be okay. I think that they can still be the 3 seed, certainly at least a 4 seed if they go for 53 wins. They're not going to go for anything higher than that. I don't think. I think 18-9 is the right number. It allows them to stay separated from everybody else. But the thing about the second half of the schedule, the post All-Star break stretch, is a lot of these other teams are facing each other. So the records will be cannibalized at least a little bit, where you're not going to see that many crooked numbers. If you do, then maybe a team does make a run. Great. Like, could Houston go? I don't know how many. Actually, I could easily check that. In the standings, Houston is 33-20. They've played 53 games and they've got 29 to go. Could they go 24-5 and win 57 games? Yeah. Could they go 22-7 and win 55? Yeah. Would it be difficult? Yeah, absolutely. Like, it doesn't matter who you're facing. Like, unless you're just entirely facing these teams that like you have no business beating, or that have no business competing, excuse me. Like the Sacramentos, the Washingtons, the New Orleans, Indiana, Brooklyn, like the tanking race, unless your schedule is chock full of those teams, you're probably going to be fine. Here's the remaining strength of schedule in terms of the West teams at the top. Denver's got the toughest remaining strength of schedule by record. OKC is 2. Minnesota is 3. The Lakers are 8. Phoenix is 9. San Antonio is 10. That is 6 of the top 7 teams. The only team that is not there is Houston. They have 20. They're ranked 25th. They actually have a relatively easy strength of schedule. So if there is a team that could pass, it's probably Houston from a record standpoint. But they do have some drama that's currently going on right now. So I'm curious to see how they handle it. It's not going to be easy for everybody. They're going to probably have some injuries as well. And curious to see what it looks like with the drama and what that ultimately turns into. So it's going to be tough. Do I think that Denver can still be the 3 seed if they go 18-9? Yes. Do I think that they should push for much higher than that? Probably not. Can they? Yeah. We'll see. We'll see if they go better than 18-9. But like that to me it's a 55-56 win pace. Like if you do that, you're in a pretty good spot. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm very excited for what happens for the Nuggets in this coming year, or this coming post All-Star break schedule. Will they be set up for the playoffs? Will they get a boost when guys like Aaron Gordon and Peyton Watson comes back? Can they find a level of defense that is competent? You don't have to be elite. You just have to be competent because your offense is amazing. There will be teams that drag their offense down a little bit, and that's where Denver really has to lock in on the defensive end. Whether they can or not remains to be seen, but it will be a fun watch. That's for sure. All right. Everybody, that is going to do it for this episode of Pickaxe and Roll. Brought to you by our good friends here at Mile High Sports. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. Appreciate the love and support on the podcast as always. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button on the way out. It really does help. Would really, really appreciate it. We'll talk to you guys on Thursday.